Hey folks, MBS here. Well, I'm going to be doing one of my least favourite jobs. Actually, it's the worst of my least favourite jobs, and that's replacing a muffler or working on an exhaust system. They can be a real prick sometimes, honestly. But I want to save money, and I don't want to take it to an exhaust shop who'd probably do this in about 20 minutes, and I'm expecting it probably take about an hour or 2 hours, but with the tools I got. But the tools you will need is one of these little chisels. Yeah, great little thing. Cost me 40 bucks. I went and got that now from Super Cheap. That'll do the job nicely, cut into the muffler. And all we need is a couple of spanners, and I'm using bolt off to loosen all the rusted nuts and on the U-clamp that's clamping around the exhaust inlet and outlet. And I've purchased a stainless steel muffler, bit more than what I really wanted. I wanted a cheap muffler, and this is the cheapest I could get, and it's a sports muffler. You can see sort of through it. So it's going to be a little noisier than my original, but never mind. It's a offset in and a centre out. Alright, so when you're looking for a muffler, if you choose to do it yourself, make sure you get the right length. The length from here to here you'd need to measure, and generally how wide they are. This is a little wider than the original, but that doesn't matter. I got plenty of room under there. The spouts are longer than the original, but that's okay. I can always cut them. And what we don't have is a slot cut into the ends here, so that when you put the clamps on you can clamp this up. I'll see how nicely the pipes fit into this before I decide to put a slot in it. But if you do that, you've got to make sure that your pipe's going in past the slot, otherwise you'll end up getting a leak right at the gap of the slot, the bottom of the slot, if you haven't pushed the inlet or outlet in far enough. But we'll come across that when we come across it. So I'm expecting lots of trouble with this. So what I'm going to do with this chisel is I'm going to, on the old muffler, I'm going to run it down the outlet without damaging the pipe that's going into it, and we're just going to cut it open, and then we're just going to lever the edges off until we get it loose from the pipe, and then we can take the tailpipe out, and then when we do the other end, the inlet, we'll do the same, and then we'll be able to twist this and pull it out of the engine pipe. Hopefully. Okay. I can see myself getting into trouble here. I don't really want to take it to an exhaust shop, but I'm going to give it a go like I always do with limited equipment. Now if you don't want to spend 40 bucks on getting an air chisel, look, you could just get a little chisel, a little tiny one, and just bash it along the seam of the muffler until you split it open. You get away with that if you've got the swinging room to do that. So yeah, if you don't want to spend the 40, do that. But I'm a lazy sort of a person. I like to use a little bit of tooling to help me do things, and owning this won't go astray. I'll use it on something else for sure. I've accumulated a lot of tools like this doing it yourself, and I've always used the tools that I've bought for other jobs, so it'll come in handy. And when you think about it, 40 bucks to buy one of those compared to what they're going to charge you to replace the muffler, you're in front anyway. As long as you don't get in the trouble and find that you're destroying your inlet pipe or your outlet tailpipe from the muffler, this would be the best way to go. Alright, now every exhaust is different. Alright, this is an easy one. I've got plenty of room here, not a problem. Some exhausts are just so tight. They're close to the body, they're close to the axles, they're close to the tail shaft, etc, etc. You may want to have a decent look at your exhaust system to see if you can actually handle that job, before you go ahead and start cutting things apart, because you might have to end up driving it to the exhaust shop without a muffler on it so they can repair it and put another muffler on for you, which then defeats the whole purpose of you doing it yourself, because I bet you 100% at the end of the day they're going to charge you more because you stuffed them around, you didn't give them the opportunity to do the whole job. Guarantee it. They do it all the time. So, and that goes with any mechanic shop that I've come across where I've had to get work done because I just didn't have the tooling, they were too expensive, whatever, and someone's done the job for me or finished it off, and they've charged you a fortune, eh? Point in case, the windscreen in my coaster, I pulled the window out, the screen out, and they charged me $600 to put it back in. Oh, highway bloody robbery. But, well, you live and learn, eh? So get a quote for everything. Before you take it into anybody, make sure you get a written quote of what they're going to charge you, because you will get stung. All right, I'm going to get underneath, get some air happening, get this chisel in the right spot, cut myself a slot down the pipe and see if I can get it off.
So this is the chisel I've chosen out of the pack that you get with that chisel gun. It has a flat edge on there, so I decided to cut a chisel end into it to make it a little bit easier to cut through the pipe. The only thing you have to watch for is that it doesn't spin on you when you're trying to cut. Otherwise it just skips off, and you virtually have to hold onto the chisel blade with your fingertips. So just be careful you don't get your fingers caught in between the chisel and the pipe, or in that spring that holds that chisel on. Otherwise you'll do yourself a bit of an injury.
Finally. Oh, there you go, it's off. Right here, we got them off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just chop off the end of these input and outputs, about the same distance. The muffler is exactly the same length as the other one. I'm definitely going to replace these because I'm not going to put a slot in there like the original muffler was. You can't tell now because they're totally destroyed, but there was a slot in there, and there was a slot in that one somewhere too, up here. So we're not going to slot the new one, but I want new clamps because these are likely to snap because of the age. So we'll get a couple of them. And even if that chisel had modified, we still did a little bit of damage to the pipe here. But we can clean that up, just get rid of the sharp edges off it and smooth it over, and it fits quite neatly into the muffler, so that should all be good. Now you can see that if you used a hammer and a chisel, that would be quite a job, wouldn't it? So $40 spent on an air chisel makes life a lot easier. There is a better chisel tip, by the way, compared to what I just used, and they call it a can opener, and it's just it's like that. It's a prong, but the middle prong is down like that. I can't even get my fingers in the right spot, and what happens is this prong that's bent down cuts into the metal and just goes along and opens it like a can opener. Beautiful. I didn't see one of those, otherwise I would have purchased it, but that modified, when I put the chisel end on it, did quite well. I only did one side and the other side remained flat, so we could push this open, because I just turned the chisel on its side, put it underneath the lip and just bent this away, and that enabled everything to come loose. Thank goodness they didn't weld the tailpipe in, and they didn't weld it to the front engine pipe, which a lot of guys do. Exhaust shops do that so they don't twist and move around, and they still put the clamps on. And some even totally weld them up to the pipes, which means when it comes time to replace them, you've got to cut the pipe and do a little bit of extra work there. At least this was a do-it-yourself job. I wasn't too worried about getting it done myself. Well, I was at the beginning one night. I thought, oh, I'm going to be in trouble here. but we managed to do it with that air chisel and it all came good. So I'll chop the muffler, and I think putting it back together is going to be very, very simple. Just to make sure that we get a good seal, because we're not slotting the muffler, I'm going to apply a bit of mani-seal to the pipe going into the muffler. Now we'll shove this little fellow in there. There you have it. We'll take it up to the point where the old one was, around about there. Now we'll put the mani-seal on the tailpipe. And we'll slip that into the back of the muffler and get it positioned where it should be. And whoop, whoa, whoa, that went in a bit too far. There we go, that's about the position. And we will bring, well, even though I've got that tight, that's loose at the front. So that clamp has not clamped down, which basically means I'm going to have to remove it and put those slots in, which is unfortunate, but that's what I'm going to have to do. Okay, I've got this now slotted. Going to have to put mani-seal on first, but now take note of where the slots are to the clamp. Okay, there's my slot parallel to the ground with the clamp facing straight up. Okay, that way the muffler should clamp up. Now this pipe is extraordinarily thick, that's why the clamp didn't crush it. We'll throw some more mani-seal in there. Now this isn't set yet, it's just dry. It actually sets once it gets hot. So we shall put it on up to there, and now we'll tighten it up, and hopefully that will be okay, it'll clamp up. Let's see. Yes, that's better. That's tight. So yeah, the slot made all the difference. We'll just do it up a bit tighter. And that mani-seal should seal up any small gaps. Okay, now we can get the tailpipe in. Okay, I want that to be sitting around about there, so we'll tighten it up and then twist it into position. And I can see that that slot I created has closed up completely. Okay, I think I might like this a little bit further around, so I'll loosen it and just twist it a bit more. Okay, we just don't want the anything hitting the body anywhere, so that seems to be pretty good there. Okay, done. Okay, as you saw, the clamps did not clamp up onto the pipes because the stainless tubes that are coming out of the muffler were just so thick it wouldn't crush up. So we cut the slots in. Now when you cut the slots, cut them double width. I used a 1mm grinding disc, and I cut down twice to give me a nice 2mm gap. And on the back, the outlet, when I crushed the clamp up, those two ends actually touched each other. So I could have probably gone 3mm in the slot, just to make sure that it gets a good clamp, yeah? And make sure you don't make them too long. So you have to realise how far your input and output pipes are going in, and don't cut it deeper than those. I would leave it about at least 3 or 4mm short of that. So yeah, if you do accidentally make your slot too long, you're going to have to push your muffler in a bit further to seal that hole up, which isn't a good thing. It might throw everything out on your clamps or your rubber mounts. You might not find that they're in the right spot because everything's been squashed in further because you made the slots too long. Alright, and that's it for the muffler. It was about $280 at the exhaust shop to replace that muffler. I spent $160, alright, including buying that air chisel. So that was the mani seal, the muffler, 2 clamps, the air chisel. Okay, saved myself heaps. And it wasn't that hard a job in the end, just luckily I had the air chisel. So hopefully your job won't be too difficult if you want to attempt it yourself. But you saw how I went about it, and hopefully you'll be able to do your own exhaust and save yourself some money. Catch you in the next video.